Email is one common user-initiated mechanism. You go check your email, you're not checking some website, you're checking your email, and even that can be a potential cause for a threat. So for example, there are lots of spam emails that come in, right? So plenty of spam, there's lots of control also for spam. So many websites, many mail servers do a fantastic job in controlling spam. But once in a while you still see these spams that are sneaking in. Right? So they not only have your information, they also have information about your friends. Sometimes your friends get emails as though it came from you. So many things, right? So that's one problem. That's one problem. Sometimes you get this from clicking ads by mistake or clicking ads without you realizing that it's really not an ad, but it's actually something malicious happening at the other end. The more common thing is actually opening attachments without checking what kind of attachment it is. So again, many websites are beginning to do a good job at that. They go look at the kind of attachments, scan them for viruses at least. They check if there are viruses installed, but they may not still check if there is a malware attached to it or some kind of spyware attached to the file themselves. So lots of obscure techniques that are not common knowledge, techniques that are in some sense cooked up. Only the malware will know what to do, but any malware mitigation system has to look at different kinds of malware attacks and so on. That way it becomes very hard for a single system to fix many of these things. Let's define some of these things. Viruses, viri, worms and trojans. So virus is essentially something which attaches itself to a program or file so that it can spread from one file to another. So it's a very simple thing. Worms also spread from one computer to another, but unlike a virus, it has a capability to travel without any help from a person. Viruses usually require help of a human being in some form. You may not know that you're helping a virus, but you're helping it in some form. You copy a file to your friend's disk, that way you do it and so on. Worms can spread on their own. They detect what kind of network they are in, find out that this machine which is on the network also has some vulnerability that is there in mind, that will move and copy and so on. And a Trojan horse is a similar thing. So essentially, it will look like useful software, but it's not really useful software. So this is based on the Greek mythological thing, or the one of Troy. Then there are these issues about malwares, adwares, and spywares. So malware is anything that has some malicious intent or content. Then it's unwanted software. You don't want it, but it's there installed on your system. So maybe you download something. Let's say I want to convert a file to a PDF. I download a PDF writer, but along with it, I install something else. Right? You download a video encoder or a decoder. Along with it, it installs some other messenger or something. Right? So all these things are malware. So you can divide them into further things. Some of them are spywares, as in they spy what you're doing. So two common spywares are things which can read off your keyboard. These are called keyloggers. They can log the kind of things that you type and replay them. So these are called keyloggers. Then there are also spywares called screen loggers. They can find out what's happening in your screen and they take frequent snapshots of what happens in your screen, save them, send them somewhere. Right? So these are two common forms of spyware. It essentially monitors what you're doing on your computer. It can also monitor other things like network activity that is there on your computer and so on. Then there are things which are adware. Adware is generally not bad, at least it's not stealing information from you, but it keeps popping up ads once in a while to your annoyance. You're doing something important and this ad pops up, you have to kill it and so on. Right? So adware is not so as bad as spyware at least. Spyware is stealing information from you. Then you have all these traditional viruses and so on. So essentially many of these things take different kinds of control of your machine itself, and you may not know that you have these viruses and worms and trojans sitting in your machine. Then there is this issue of phishing. So phishing is essentially this. You get an email as though it's from a legitimate email. It's asking you to click on the link so that you can save your password, change your password. So this is something that we get. So once in a while, it looks like it's coming from the bank. It says, oh, you have to change your password now because the password's expiration date is exceeded. It's more than 3 months since you changed your password. Or we have recent changes in our terms and conditions. Please log in again. These things you get as email once in a while. So these are actually, many of them need not be from legitimate businesses. These could be from businesses that are acting as though it's a legitimate business and trying to steal information from you. In some sense, they are being manipulative. Right? So you get an email saying click on this and change your password. They give you a screen which looks exactly like the business that you have. Right? Let's say I want to access my Citibank account or something. Right? I get a mail supposedly from Citibank. I click on the link. It gives me something like a website which is exactly like Citibank's. It takes my username, password and so on. It may do all of that and let us say, sorry, your password is incorrect and kick me out. Right? You may assume that, oh, maybe I really typed the password wrong, let me try it again. But what could have happened in the meanwhile is, they have taken your username and password and they have kicked you out, and they have probably also redirected you to legitimate Citibank's page. And all of this you may not know is happening at all because the look and feel that you see from your browser has not changed. Right? So this happens more often than not, and this happened very recently in our own department. So a few years ago, some Australian website was running off our department's web servers. Somebody was doing man in the middle, and they were using our department's web server to store all kinds of information from this Australian bank's website. So it could happen to anyone unless you take protection. So this is something that you may have to worry about. So the key thing is, someone lives happily ever after. It's not you, definitely. Right? Somebody is taking information from you, and they may use it in whatever way they want. So many of these attacks are supposedly Internet Explorer based, but other browsers are also vulnerable. Various browsers have been shown to be vulnerable. So don't rely on the fact that you're using a Linux machine, that way you're safe. You're using Macs, and that way you're safe. Such things are all myths. So yes, IE is very vulnerable because it's also a very commonly used browser. Many people mount attacks on IE because it's popular. Right? So let's say Firefox becomes popular and it takes over 90% of the market or something. You'll start seeing that there's lots of spyware and attacks targeting Firefox. So even now there are attacks on Firefox, but it's not just about how safe the system is engineered to be. It's not just about how safe a browser is. It's also about how many people try and attempt writing malware to attack browsers. So operating systems, again, Windows is very vulnerable. You see that Windows users keep saying that we have this virus, we have that, and so on. But it's not restricted to Windows. You also have viruses attacking Linux systems and so on. Sometimes we assume that, oh, the kind of connection that I have, we should not get such things and so on. ISP may filter certain contents, you may not see those. It's possible, but don't rely on too many things. Many of these things, right, if you're logged in as an administrator, the damage is a lot more than if you log in as a regular user. So many of us have this habit that, oh, I want to download some software, I want to make some changes and so on. Thereby, you do have user accounts, but you end up logging in as administrator more often than not. And we leave many of these things turned on as it is, and you leave the page also. You don't know what's really happening. So logging in as administrator is cause for concern. So you have to be careful about logging in as administrator. Don't do it unless it's absolutely necessary. So there are lots of recommendations. Install and use antivirus programs. So there's a common recommendation: install and use antivirus, and keep these things patched. So antiviruses also go out of date very frequently. So keep them up to date as much as possible. Use scan and read emails with attachments. Install and use a firewall program. So for example, things like Zone Alarm and so on are quite useful. Have you used Zone Alarm? Have you heard of Zone Alarm? It's a very interesting piece of software. It actually tells you various kinds of things. Windows also has a basic firewall setup. Thereby, so I remember this happened a few months ago actually. I am in the institute's network. I live on campus, and my computer is run on the institute's network itself. So it's a 10 Mbps backbone that we get. Quite nice. So I didn't have any spyware, malware detection software running on it, and I installed something about 3 or 4 months ago. The moment I installed it, it immediately said there are all these computers that is trying to attack your computer and getting access to your computer. The moment I installed the software, right after that. So this is actually some Norton 360 that I was installing on my computer, and right after I turned on the computer after installation, it said all these computers are trying to attack you. Right? So I may not have known this unless I have some software like that running. Other key thing: make backups of important files. So this is generally common advice, and especially if you have photographs and so on, keep them in multiple places if need be. Use strong passwords. Use tag and downloading important programs, and more importantly, uninstall them if you don't need something. So don't have things sitting around for a long time, even if you don't use them. Sometimes you have this habit of not cleaning up programs, registries, and so on. Have all these things. If need be, also use an encryption system for the most important files that you have.